$212.4 million spread across 4 seasons. That's how much Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa is going to be earning now that he signed his contract extension. This extension may seem like an overpay to those who are not avid watchers of the Miami Dolphins like I am. So in this video, I'm going to turn you Tua doubters into Tua believers. And for those of you that already think Tua is good, please stick around, because I'm sure you can use some of my topics as arguments against your friends who think Tua sucks. And at the end of the video, I'm going to dissect some film to show you exactly why I think he's a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. Coming out of college, Tua was touted as one of the most accurate passers to ever play the game of football.
So they was like, man, it's like, we just got a hold of Tua. And I was like, who? They said, yo, bro, they said he's the real deal. They said, honestly, they said if Jalen wasn't here, he would be our starting quarterback right now. I'm like, what? I said, as a true freshman? They was like, bro, just watch.
Right.
Bro, he came out there, dude. We was out there for about an hour and a half. Bro, he didn't miss a route. Dude, I've never seen, as a true freshman, bro, I've never seen anything like it.
Although he was coming off a career-threatening injury, Miami drafted him at number 5 overall in 2020. Most fans, not only for the Dolphins, but in the NFL, expected Tua to redshirt his rookie season, seeing as he was coming off an injury that could have easily ended his career. But not even an entire calendar year after his injury, Miami threw him out in his first ever start against the best defensive lineman to ever play, Aaron Donald. Tua didn't really do much in that game, only amounting for 93 passing yards and 1 touchdown, but scraping away with the victory based off of his defense absolutely shutting down Jared Goff. And this is where the hate for Tua really started. His first ever game as a pro, he got carried by his defense and didn't even throw for over 100 yards. His first play as a pro was a fumble. His second game, however, is where we actually saw glimpses of the player he was destined to become. Now, before I even go into Tua's performance in this game, I want to play a quick little game with you. I'm going to throw some players on the screen right here. How many of these NFL players do you recognize? If you're a Dolphins fan, you might be able to name all of them. But even lifelong Fins fans may have a hard time remembering who some of them are. The most notable ones are Devontae Parker and Mike Gesicki. Parker is notable for his one spectacular season in 2016 where he was a top 5 in receiving yards, while Gesicki is mostly just known for having one of the ugliest gritties of all time. The rest of these players, outside of Durham Smythe, are either relegated to bench players for other teams or out of the NFL entirely. Mind you, these were the players Tua played his entire rookie season with, and the Dolphins still finished the season with a positive record, 10-7. This game, Tua's second game, against the Cardinals, was Tua's first chance to really show the world what he was capable of. Kind of like when Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert bursted onto the scene in their seasons with incredible game after incredible game. The only difference being that people had already written Tua off as a mediocre player because he didn't have the greatest debut, because he isn't the tallest player or the fastest player. But in this game, Tua racked up 248 yards and 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, while only missing 8 passes all game, dueling Kyler Murray, who won Rookie of the Year the year prior. Tua even accounted for 35 rushing yards and this incredible play to gain a first down in a crucial situation. This should have been the game that people realized Tua was more than just a game manager, that Tua was going to be a force in the NFL for years to come. But instead, people brushed this game to the side, proclaiming it was a fluke and wouldn't happen again. Later on in Tua's rookie season, the Miami Dolphins found themselves at 8-4 in the wild card race against the Kansas City Chiefs, who were 11-1 at the time. A game that in all likelihood probably should have been a blowout, even though the Dolphins were 8-4. The Chiefs were blowing out good team after good team in that season. But Tua didn't believe that. Tua didn't think they were good. Tua wanted to win. He willed the team to get close. He went out and put on a show for his team, throwing for 316 yards and 2 touchdowns against the best team and the best quarterback in the NFL. But again, people do not remember, nor do they talk about rookie Tua Tagovailoa outplaying Patrick Mahomes. And yes, outplaying Patrick Mahomes, not just keeping up, doing better. And this is in Tua's 6th ever game as a starter. The Fins ended up losing that game to the Chiefs by 5 points, despite a great game by both Tua and his defense, and ultimately missing out on the playoffs because of an embarrassing blowout loss to the Bills, who were starting their backups in the final game of the season. The following season, Tua played a few more games and totaled 13 total games played, 2,600 yards, 16 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions. Not incredible numbers, but nothing bad either. His third season would be his breakout year, also only playing 13 games, but this time 3,500 yards, 25 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions. Of course, the main reason for this sudden jump in production is the addition of Mike McDaniel and Tyreek Hill. So let's talk about these additions. More Mike McDaniel than Tyreek, because Tyreek, obviously, best receiver in the NFL, but there's not much to say outside of that. However, there is a lot to say regarding the situation around the hiring of Mike McDaniel. Before McDaniel, Brian Flores was the head coach of the Miami Dolphins. He was a Bill Belichick disciple, hell-bent on having the best defense in the league, even if it meant having less talented players on offense, which is similar to what Belichick did in New England, except Belichick had the greatest quarterback of all time in Tom Brady, and Flores had a rookie, Tua Tagovailoa. Flores put Tua in horrible positions to succeed, having an injury-riddled Devontae Parker and injury-riddled Preston Williams as his two best receivers, while simultaneously having two running backs who aren't even in the NFL anymore as his two best running backs. And their offensive line was ranked in the bottom of the NFL as well, and Tua still dragged them to having back-to-back winning seasons under Flores. On top of the inability to surround his quarterback with adequate pieces, he was unable to run his team at all. Brian Flores had 3 offensive coordinators in the span of 2 seasons. The first one was brought into Miami specifically for Ryan Fitzpatrick. And when Tua was thrust into the starting spot, Chan Gailey didn't really have a plan for how to utilize Tua. And then, I promise you're going to chuckle at this. Flores decides that the best offensive coordinator to give Tua to help him succeed in his second year is to not just give him one offensive coordinator, but give him 2. Yes, the Dolphins employed co-offensive coordinators in the 2021 season. A running backs coach, Eric Studesville, and a tight end coach, George Godsey. Honestly, I cannot believe that Tua had a mediocre season in his second year. He was given all the pieces to succeed. It's not like he most definitely had differing opinions coming from not only his head coach and offensive coordinator, but his head coach and his 2 offensive coordinators. Not just one central voice telling him what to do. And on top of that, it has come out in recent years that Flores was never a fan of Tua, and number 1, never wanted to draft him, and 2, would treat him unfairly compared to the rest of the team.
So I believe I was just in the middle of a civil war, they call it. Like Tua talks about it all the time in his relationship of, going from what he had of, he was scared to make a mistake, didn't feel comfortable, and now he gets to be himself. He talks trash on the podium now, It's kind of cool. I'm happy for his success.
Which led to him being fired in 2021. And I bet you thought it couldn't get any worse. The Dolphins were stripped of their first-round pick in 2023 because they were caught tampering with both Sean Payton and Tom Brady. That is a huge blow to Tua's morale, or at least it would have been to most people. Tua took this attempt to get rid of him in stride mostly because of their new head coach, Mike McDaniel. McDaniel, who fun fact was in line to become the Dolphins offensive coordinator in 2021 before they decided to switch to a 2-party system. McDaniel from day 1 was sold that Tua was good enough to be the starting quarterback for Miami, and that promise was held up by their GM Chris Greer with the additions of Raheem Mostert, Tyreek Hill, and Teron Armstead all in one offseason, followed up by getting Jalen Ramsey last year and Odell Beckham Jr. and Jordan Poyer this year. Mike McDaniel has changed Tua's career trajectory completely, giving him the tools to succeed and motivating him and letting him know that he's not a bum, that he can do whatever he wants to do as long as he stays healthy. Now I want to dive into what Tua's strengths and weaknesses are, as well as dissect some film on him to prove to you all at home that he is a good quarterback, and even top 5 in my opinion. But before we do that, I want to quickly discuss Tua's actual play style and the way that Miami uses him, because there's a lot of misinformation out there and confusion about what he's actually good at. As I said earlier, coming out of college, Tua was labeled as the second coming of Drew Brees by some. And by some, I mean me. I'm the one that called him that. But others did definitely say he was incredibly accurate. Even Giants' current head coach Brian Daboll was quoted as saying that some quarterbacks can throw a ball and hit the ship. Other quarterbacks can hit a door on a ship. But Tua can hit the keyhole on the door on the ship. That's how accurate he is. But not only was Tua an incredibly accurate quarterback, he was also incredibly mobile. Look at these clips from not only Alabama, but his early years in the NFL. He was agile and still is agile. The only difference is that he was forced to put on weight these past few off seasons in order to combat his increased concussion rate. This increased weight limited his mobility, of course. But do me a quick favor, can you tell what the difference between these 2 photos are? I think it's pretty clear the difference between them. Tua's weight. Tua has slimmed down an insane amount this offseason, which should help bring back the agility and mobility that he once had. Alright, and now for the most fun and also most important part of the video. Up until now, I simply told you the background behind why Tua is viewed the way he is viewed, along with how he performed in a general sense in his first couple seasons. But now is where I come with receipts and back up my claims. So let's go over my claims once again. 1. His team was bad in his rookie and sophomore season, and he still performed well. 2. Flores never set him up for success. 3. People do not give him credit for his recent success because of Tyreek Hill when they should give Tua most of the credit. 4. He's a top 5 quarterback in the NFL and deserved to get paid $212.4 million. I think people forget that Tua Tagovailoa has been an MVP contender for 2 years straight. Any flaw in his game that people were saying in his first and second season are completely gone. He has become one of the fastest processing quarterbacks in the NFL. He gets through his reads incredibly quickly. He has developed one of the prettiest deep passes in the entire NFL. Now for the actual film study, I'm going to cut some clips from Jackson Kruger Sports video because I'm not very good at, X's and O's of football, and he is, so I'm going to give him credit in the description. Go ahead and subscribe to him. Would be greatly appreciated.
And this is just really good stuff from Tua. His quick processing and timing is maybe the best in football. It honestly is. And you see the concept on the screen for Miami. You have several receivers running deeper routes, and then you have an underneath one as well. But again, here's what I like about Tua is how quick he gets through his progressions. Watch as when this play begins, very quickly he's looking further down the field, as that's the way the concept is designed to work, but immediately doesn't love what he sees in that area. So what's Tua gonna do? Well, he's going to instead throw it underneath. He reads the play, gets the ball in the correct player's hands, and hey, they gained a decent amount of yards on that play. It was an 8-yard gain, which is pretty good and actually really important on a 2nd down and 20. Gives you a chance on 3rd down and 12, whereas had he just tried to push it down the field and not gained any yards, well, now you're basically just setting up for a field goal. Again, consistently making these types of plays will really make a huge impact in football. And while we all like to talk about the splash plays, the 70-yard touchdowns and all of that stuff, the vast majority of football plays are these kind of plays, and being able to turn these plays into, get the most value out of these plays as possible is like most of a quarterback's job.
If you want to see a video similar to this one, click the video on the screen